Welcome to the Tearing It Up podcast. I'm your host, Taryn. We'll be tearing it up, tearing it down, and tearing it apart, dissecting all things related to those who deviate from the standard. From leaders of their industry to leaders of mediocrity, and maybe a gear review or two thrown in. We shoot the shit and let the conversations flow, so if that's not your style, this may not be for you. Otherwise, listen in. Hope to light a fire in you somehow. Okay, surprise! It's another just TNA.
Yeah,
Taryn
baby.
and Amber today. I think we said last week we were gonna have a guest this week, but just schedules, things, just didn't work out. So another time. For now, it's us, and we do have another topic. Super excited about having a topic always because it can keep us on a little bit of a track.
Yes.
But as we know, it veers off or we don't get to it till later, because I was gonna say, it's just always fun to catch up and kind of see what's been going on in the last week, though it may not be much. And there was something specific I was going to talk about that but I don't know what anymore, so I don't have that much to catch up on.
Yeah.
But it was just a holiday weekend, Memorial Day weekend, so that's a 3 or 4 day holiday. I don't really know how schools work anymore, if they have Friday off or if it's just Monday. But
Quincy School District was just Monday, but I saw another local school district that was Friday and Monday, so I don't know either.
Yeah, and I was in the shop for a little bit today, plus just driving through town. I was like, there's a lot of people out for a Tuesday at noon. And I mean, It was busy in the store right off of the get-go at 10 a.m. So yeah, I was just like, what the heck's going on? It just feels like all of a sudden, it's summer. We just quit now. We had Memorial Day weekend. Now we're just gonna say summer's here and here we go. And I'm so not ready for that. I cannot fucking believe it is May 30th and June is 2 days away.
Right.
Again, it's so hard with this just never-ending winter we had, and now being in this cycle of gray and cloudy weather, which I'm not complaining about, because as I've said a million times too, I did not want it to go from 0 to 105 degrees every day or anything. Yes. And I love this transition period. However, it feels like it should be April.
Yeah.
With this weather. So I'm just feeling like my brain's not catching up to what's happening in the world.
Yes. I know that feeling.
But that happens a lot too. That's just kind of like no matter what. And
yeah, especially with holidays and stuff. And then I'm like, they come up and I'm like, oh, I should have done some more things for that, I think.
Yeah. Well, we had a huge sale this weekend at the store, and so I worked Saturday and Sunday. So again, that just kind of threw me off of normal kind of schedule of what day is it, but should be able to get back on track this week at least.
It's Tuesday.
It is Tuesday.
The Mondayest Tuesday ever.
Yeah, 100%. Monday is Tuesday for sure. We talked about bike fits last week, and I know we had a couple people reach out saying they really resonated with that topic, and so that's awesome. I don't know if they meant that they've done it and it was a good choice, or if they meant they want to just learn more about it to be better on their bicycle or what.
I think the people that reached out to me have not done it and were extremely interested in it and wanted to do it. And I asked a buddy of mine who owns a local bike shop here in Tacoma. I have to say,
bless you.
If there is someone who does bike fits, and he said yes, but we were on a bike ride, and so we just didn't exchange information, but I will get that information to the people here shortly, especially for local people who were interested in it. And this person that I asked, I totally trust. He's like a super bike nerd, so I trust this source. So we'll make sure to get it to the people once I get it from my source.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's just, I'm all for anything that helps your body move better and more efficiently. And if you're spending a lot of time on your bike, then I think it's something to look into for sure, because as with anything in life, if you're doing it incorrectly for too long, just this repetitive motion over and over, it can cause injuries and pain. And it's like I said, if you enjoy riding your bike and you ride it a lot, it's absolutely worth the investment. And I'm sure that it's different everywhere you go and depending on who you go to, because I went to a licensed physical therapist for mine. So I
Yeah.
think that means, it's going to be on the higher end of a price point, perhaps. I'm not too sure because I've never looked at doing any others. So it can feel like a lot for an hour and a half of time, but like I said, it's an investment like into your body and your
Yeah.
body mechanics and the thing that brings you joy and will be able to bring you joy further into your life if you are doing it correctly and not getting these repetitive motion like injuries
Yeah.
from just simple kind of things that could have been corrected simply. I'll
Totally.
leave it at that.
Yeah.
I still haven't gotten on my bike though since I had my bike fit, so
That's
that's a
okay.
bummer.
It's been a busy weekend, man. Memorial Day weekend was a trip.
Yeah, the last just since I got back from Washington, 3 weeks have just been crazy. Um, oh, I was gonna mention how I was trying to have my step goal be my one of the main things I was focusing on. In the last couple days, golly, have I been unmotivated. My steps have gone way down, but I do think it's just because my schedule kind of went out of whack, worked the weekend, and yesterday, after I realized it was a holiday and it got Sunday vibey, I was like, man, fuck this. Like, I really just don't want to do anything. I'm just like
Yeah.
fucking drained. And it's so interesting when that happens because when you're in it, I feel like you're not realizing sometimes how much energy you're expending or how much something's taking out of you. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like, I'm thinking about, I'm like, why the heck do I feel this way? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
did have time off. Like, I took Thursday off and most of that Friday off and then work Saturday and Sunday. So I'm like, I'm okay. But then I was just like, fuck, I'm gonna have to work now 7 days in a row to get back on my regular schedule. So like,
Yeah.
what? And then I looked at the calendar and I'm like, okay, I gotta figure things out. And what I have to do is, out of this pay period, 4 days off and
Yeah.
manage my schedule that way. But I got it figured out. I did it, and today felt good because I was kind of busy running around from like 7:30 this morning until now. I still have stuff to do after
Yeah.
this. But I feel like I've been productive. I didn't get my steps
Yes.
in, and I don't know that I will with the weather and the time of day and what I have to do. That's fine. I will be like, okay. Like I said, you don't always have to, if you don't reach your goals, you don't have to sit and mope about it or
Yes.
completely give up, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I can be like, oh darn, but tomorrow I can get back on track, get back on the fucking
Yes.
train, the wagon, the whatever. So that's my goal, is to just and I said today was very productive for me and is going to continue to be. So that is like great. It's not like I
Yes.
just did nothing all day.
Yeah, exactly.
But even if you do have those days, like you need them. So no
Yes.
judgment on
Yes.
those days you do nothing.
No. Although I will say sitting at a computer doing a computer job sucks the life out of me.
Yeah.
More so than like a shift at the bar. I'm
Yep.
just like zonked. It's insane. It's weird. Like mental exhaustion versus physical exhaustion is next level.
Yeah, my mom talks about that all the time because she's worked from home for like 15 years and she does medical coding. And so that's it. I mean, it takes a lot. Sometimes it's pretty simple for her. It just depends on her day and how it is. But sometimes it's a just, yeah, mental exhaustion. And we would always kind of, our family just always talks shit. So we'd always kind of like, talk shit to her about it. Oh, well, you just sat all day, whatever. And now I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I'm so sorry, mom. Like,
Yeah.
cause yeah, it's so unmotivating. That's
It's
why I
exhausting.
know as the days that I have to be in front of the computer all day, if I don't get my movement in the morning or don't do certain things in the morning that I know need to get done, then the likelihood of them getting done just diminishes throughout the day because I'm just I'm,
Yes.
like you said, just zonked. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this or I don't want to do this anymore now. I just want to go like lay down or like zone out on a TV show or
Yeah.
something. Um, so yeah, it's crazy how it does that. And like you said, when it feels like it can take more energy than a physical job, like being on your
Yeah.
feet all day. It's like, yeah, and at least when you're on your feet all day and I'm working the floor at the store, I can get those like 10,000 steps in a day just doing that. So I don't feel like I have to do anything extra or, well, I mean, I'll work out, but it's not this pressure of, okay, now I have to go spend an hour to 2 hours to get all these steps in because I
Yeah.
got them. It was just more effective time management, like
Mm-hmm.
now I can go take an hour or two out of my day to go bike ride because I was on my feet all day. But how the fuck am I gonna spend 2 hours biking and 2 hours like going on a goddamn walk to get my enough steps in?
Yes.
So
Wait, doesn't biking count as like movement
yes, it does
steps?
count as movement, and so that's that definitely an argument, to be had. But I still want like the leisure kind of steps in a
Yeah.
day. However, so it's not like I'm making my choice of like a couple steps, a few thousand steps, whatever, over biking. Like if today I had the option, I would have gladly biked and been okay with not getting the steps. But there was a
Yeah.
time that I could get it all in because I was working on my feet, right? So it feels
Yep.
weird that like it doesn't feel like biking would be enough really after sitting all day, depending on
Mm-hmm.
the bike ride I'm going on. Like, but the bike
Yeah.
rides I have planned in my mind right now are definitely rides where I should be doing something else throughout my day. That
Yeah.
sitting for 8 hours and then just going on this short ride is not enough for my
Mm-hmm.
body. And again, not even in the hardcore sense, but just movement. Like I said, like I just want to walk those 10,000 steps. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to fucking get all the
Sprint.
yeah. Although, like I said, I am thinking about trying to start running just so I can get those steps in a little bit quicker
Yeah.
without killing my body. But that's the problem. Running kills me. But
Yes.
this, we can kind of segue this into what we want to talk about today, which is like feeling left out or left behind, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes doing these activities or wanting to do these activities and with other people can make you feel left out or left behind, because if you
Yes.
don't feel that you are up to par with the people you want to go with or your friends or your community or whatever, then you're going to feel left out or left behind, and like
Mm-hmm.
either people aren't inviting you out so you're feeling left out, or you're trying to progress in whatever activity or sport, and the group of people maybe that you're going with isn't supporting that, then
Yeah.
you may feel left behind.
1,000.
And these are easy things for me to relate to, and I think a lot of our community, because a lot of listeners, they do a lot of things, and
Yes.
especially maybe they're starting something new or took time off because of life, and getting back into it is hard, and that's where you feel left behind or left out. Like, I used to be able to do all this and now it's a struggle for whatever reason. But also just like socially and in general, and like
Yeah.
in life, you can feel left out with your friends just simply hanging out without you because maybe your
Yeah.
schedules don't work out, or for I don't know, it might not be like a conscious decision that they're not
Personal.
calling or
Yeah.
texting, yeah, or personal, that they forgot to invite you to this dinner that they were having, um and didn't think about it because you live here and they live there or whatever. It was spur of the
Legit. Yeah.
moment, not a thought out thing. Or again, like left behind, like in life, because you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing people, especially as we talk about often, social media. You see the highlight reel, you see what this
Yes.
person's doing. You're like, how the fuck are they doing all of that? And I'm over here busting my ass. And,
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky to get out on a walk or a bike ride or something.
Yes. And I think
And
with social media, it makes it significantly worse because people constantly feel like they have to always advertise what they're doing to make us feel relevant.
yep.
Or, like with a lot of other apps like Strava or whatever, it's to track
Mm-hmm.
your mileage or what you've been doing. But even within that, if you see somebody doing something with someone else and you're like, oh, they normally invited me, I wonder why they didn't. But
Mm-hmm.
again, like you said, logistics and like planning, and it's a lot. I feel like it's a lot to get myself out of the house, let
Mm-hmm.
alone trying to plan with other people because everyone's schedules are all over the place.
Dude, look how hard of a time we have scheduling an hour out of our day to talk via Zoom,
Yeah.
some weeks. So,
Yeah.
yeah, hunt now to think about coordinating people, trails, equipment, all that. That's
Yes.
why I only have a couple
Skill
people that I even
levels.
reach out to anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise like do it myself, because if I'm trying to reach out to like 4 or 5 people, well, that's just never going to happen, it feels
Yeah.
like. So it's awesome with mountain biking around here that there's a bunch of women's groups and or like group rides that go out throughout the week. They're all kind of starting up next week. Some have been going, but so it's like almost every night of the week you have an option for a group ride, and that's great because you just whoever's there, you got people to ride with instead of trying to coordinate it. So it takes the
Mm-hmm.
ease, or gives you ease rather in that. But yeah, it sucks. Like I want to go out with more people, so I have two reasons why I don't, and that's one, feeling like I'm gonna get be left behind on the trail,
Yeah.
um, or not be able to keep up again. Especially it's like the uphills where I struggle, and that then people and it's gonna lead to being left out because then people aren't gonna want
Yeah.
to go with me again because they know how slow I am on the uphill. So that makes me want to only choose from a small group of people to go with. And then also just the logistics in general of, okay, I have no idea what this person's schedule is, and
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable just knowing that I don't have to talk with this person. And
Mm-hmm.
I've gone out with some people who like, yeah, on the uphill, they're just trying to chat. And I'm like, yeah, it's interesting, huh? Like we made these plans to go out together, but we're really not hanging out. We're
Yeah.
just like supporting
Doing,
each other, like
yes.
knowing that
Yes.
we're suffering together on the challenging part and then supporting each other like on the way down. Because on the way down you're not chatting either because you gotta leave space. So yeah, I think about that like, yeah, I should just go alone because it's not like I'm fucking talking to the person
Yeah.
I'm with really at all.
Especially with like single track sports like
Hmm.
mountain biking, hiking. I mean, hiking is a little bit different, even though it is kind of like a single track thing. You can
Hmm.
like go at a comfortable pace and
Yeah,
have a conversation comfortably because you're not like super out of breath or whatever. But with like biking, I find it,
sometimes.
yes, true. True, true, true. But it's like it's easier to keep pace on foot than it
Yes,
is like on a bike.
absolutely.
And I mean, snowboarding is a little bit different because you just like have this wide range of play space and like
Hmm.
coming together, going separate ways, and then meeting back up. And yeah, it's just, but with like biking, I always feel like if and like whoever whatever's in front of you or behind you, they could be like a minute or two in front of you or behind you, and it could feel like they're miles
Yep.
ahead of you, and you're like, cool, I'm just doing this thing by myself.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I'm sure I sound like a broken record with it because I know we've talked about it before, but I just feel like I have to preface things like, hey, yeah, you want to go do that trail, but by the way, just like what have you got to do today? Because I'm pretty slow on the uphill, blah
Yeah.
blah. And I don't want to feel like I need to preface that, but I just feel like a little more justified that they know what they're getting into. And so, yeah, if they
Yeah.
never want to go with me again, or if they want to be picky and choosy about what trails they invite me on, then they can.
Hmm.
But it's also stems from just being surrounded by people who were really good at their sport and feeling like I have to preface it, where now it's like I'm pretty sure that anyone I want to go with just wants to be outside.
Yeah.
And like I said, unless they have a time constraint of like they have to get to work, then guess what? Then they can go. They can leave me. They can be like, sorry, I had to go. I was running late. And they just like, they'll text me when they get to their car. Awesome. Fucking great. Like
Hmm.
do that. But yeah, I don't know why I still feel this feeling that it's all a competition for the best time. And I think living in Tahoe, definitely, you still have that. And doing things like following things like Strava, you
Hmm.
might see someone who like did this trail, right, that you want to do, but then you're like, oh, wait, they did it in how fast? Like what time?
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck, I'm not gonna ask them to go ride with me because they just did that trail in like half the time that I would do it. So why the fuck would I
Yes.
ever feel like I can go with you? So those things can be really damaging to your psyche, really.
Yeah.
But
Totally.
it's like, I don't know, just finding the people who you really can trust and be yourself around
Yeah.
and feel like you don't have to preface things. And And just think
Or,
about it yourself more of like, who am I trying to,
proof too.
yeah, like
Yeah.
are you trying to prove something to them or yourself? Or are you trying to make excuses for them or yourself? Like, why does it let yourself be okay with being slower
Yeah.
or faster? What if you're the faster
Yeah.
one and you're like, I'm afraid to ask anybody because I don't want to seem like a jackass that I'm just sprinting up the hill or
Yeah.
whatever, I don't, it's just like, who the fuck cares? Like you said, you have to at least try once with people. And then if they don't ever want to go with you again, you don't jive, it doesn't work out, then that's fine. But that to me, that's where I feel like it can get a little bit hairy because you have to communicate too, because that's where
Yeah.
someone feels left out is like you went out and the one person feels like we had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you're like, yeah, we don't. How do you tell someone that? Of like, I just
Yeah.
don't think we like jived well together. Like, we're on really different levels. And, I'd love to go out with you once in a while, but like,
And you don't like sometimes the vibe gets caught and you don't necessarily have to have that conversation. You know what I
yep,
mean? Like
yeah, yeah,
for most people who are of like-minded individuals, there's just a vibe that gets caught and you're like, all right, well, we won't be doing that again. Or you do something with someone and you're like, oh my God, they were totally on pace with me. There was like
yeah.
no problem, no hiccup in like getting here and there and time scheduling, and would gladly do that again. And then the next time it's all fucked up. You know what I mean? So it's
Mm-hmm.
all just situational, but it is so important to find your people to do the things with. And I wish you lived
I
closer.
know it's so hard because said the one friend that I came to like rely on, it's just impossible to ever do anything with her because she works so much and she works 12-hour shifts at the hospital. So when she then
Bam.
like she had Monday off, but it's like by Monday she's like dead.
Yeah.
And then she's just been picking up shifts because she's was out of town, I think maybe for a while. So she's just like catching up or whatever. But it's well, yeah, schedules. It's fucking really hard
It's
in
really
this
hard.
age, and that's why you have to have a wide variety of people to choose from. So I would like to expand my pool of
Mm-hmm.
people so I can continue to still just ask like the one person or something to go out, but right now it's like, and I have the people, I'm just too chicken shit to ask, and like I said, feel I'm like, I gotta do a few things by myself first. It's so funny. I used to make fun of my mom. That sounds terrible to say, like make fun of my mom, but when she'd talk about going to the gym and she'd be like, oh my God, I'm too fat to go to the gym right now. I need to like lose weight first or work out first. I'm like, Mom, that's why you go to the gym, all right? Like
Yes.
you so
In
like
action.
yeah, you that's not a thing. You don't do that first. You go to it to do that. And
Yes.
so I feel like it's the same thing is I just need to start going out with people
Yeah.
because that's going to make me do the thing, thus get me better at it because I know I'm much more likely to flake on myself than
Mm-hmm.
another person. So if I'm like, oh, it's okay, no, I'll go ride that a few times by myself, just see how I feel. And then I'll start asking people if they want to go with me. And it's like, well, it's not happening. I'm not doing it. I'm not going out by myself. So why don't I just
Yeah.
ask the damn person?
Yep.
And see how it goes. But man, I get so frustrated and I cry and I don't want to like do that to people.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, oh my God, I just want to ride a bike. And I'm like, I'm so sorry that I just can't fucking breathe.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, it's just sucks feeling lonely or left out or left
Yeah.
behind. And like you said, what we see on social media is so like highlighty and it's the look at me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it's so hard to find
Yes.
a balance on it because of course those are the
Mm-hmm.
things you want to share. And it's like I don't know. I think it just has to be up to us at some point as consumers of it to know that, hey, yeah, that person looks like they're having a great time, but we have no idea what else is happening behind the
Yes.
scenes. Or like when they did that, right? They may have done all these adventures in one weekend
Yeah.
and then not gotten outside for 3 weeks or something,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just we have to take some responsibility on the consuming end of keeping
Hell
our
yeah.
thoughts realistic and knowing that people have shit going on behind closed doors, because that's exactly why they, say to be kind and nice to everybody
Yeah.
that you see face to face, because you also don't know what's going on behind
Mm-hmm.
the closed doors. They may have had to drag their ass out of bed that day. They may have a very ill family member, something terrible going on, but they're still
Yeah.
going through their day with a smile on their face. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we have to kind of do that with social media, scroll through, like, you know.
Yep. And accept where you are in your place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it is in a place where you're like, God, this is some real shit and I really hate where I'm at. But I mean, you're there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It just is what it is. And I feel like as I've gotten older, I've gotten better with like my FOMO, my fear of missing out,
Mm-hmm.
especially being a mother, because there's just so many things that you can't do once you have a kid. There's just so many, and it just changes everything, because you're not living for yourself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You're living for this other person. And luckily they start off as like teeny tiny little squishes, and then you get used to it and you evolve and you grow more with your child as a parent. But there's just so much you can't do with a kid, like the extreme sports stuff. Like it was really hard for me to get into mountain biking because I can't do it with Quincy. He, like, even now I couldn't be like, hey, let's go ride Tiger, dude.
Yeah, right.
Like,
There's a long period of time where it takes before you can do certain things
yeah,
with your kids. So how do you get your jollies off while
yeah.
teaching them things or being around,
Yes. And like gathering you and yourself and trying to motivate yourself to get out, let alone grabbing whatever the hell you need for a toddler, an infant, a baby. Luckily, I had a super strong drive to want to get out in the mountains when Quincy was a baby, and I would just throw him in his hiking backpack and we would rip and roll. But it wasn't easy, you know what I mean? Like there was
Mm-hmm.
like blowouts, there were tantrums, and my biggest fear is cougars. And I would always be like, stop crying, you're gonna attract the cats, and just be so stressed out. And like looking back now, I'm just like, you just, like, with things like that, you have to go at their pace. Like you just
Mm-hmm.
have to change your expectations. You're not going to finish that hike, you're not going
Mm-hmm.
to get to the viewpoint, but you did it. You got out
Mm-hmm.
of the house, you did the thing, you got you and yourself and your kids, multiple kids out of the house. You know what I mean? You just got to take the little wins
I
and
love
just
that.
know that you're on your own path always,
I love that so
all the
much. Like
time.
you said, like, check your expectations and the
Mm-hmm.
little wins. Just what we just talked about in the very beginning of, I didn't put too much weight on the fact that, okay, yeah, the last couple days I've been not getting movement, but today I was very productive in work and I got a lot of shit done, and I'm going to get a lot more shit done. I'm taking that win. I'm not like I have to do everything. And
Yeah.
that's where, like, when they say on your to-do list, you should really only have a small to-do list that has major
Yes.
things on it that are, you're accomplished, that are accomplishable or whatnot. And instead of 10 or 20 things, because when you look at that and you're like, oh, I only got 5 things done, and you feel like a failure. Whereas if you have those couple of really big non-negotiable things you have to get done that day, you get those done and you're feeling like a winner, and it can just help motivate you to continue on and
Mm-hmm.
get more stuff done. And then the more you get done, the more accomplished you are and feel. And meet yourself where you're at is what you've
Yeah.
said a million times too. And so those are all things we have to keep in mind, especially when we're scrolling, because we are just all in different stages of our life, and it's hard to look at some stuff and feel like that's not fair. And
Totally.
this has come up for me multiple times throughout my life. And again, a point where I felt left out or left behind has been in situations where maybe a friend of mine or someone I even just like know at arm's length distance or something, I see them get started into an activity in their life that I've been doing for a while. and they just go fucking ham on it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing it every day or every weekend, and they're just like become this athlete or something that they never ever were before, and you're just like, wait, what? I've been doing this for like 10 fucking
Yeah.
years, and
Yeah.
now like all of a
You
sudden
come
you've
into the scene.
surpassed me. Yeah, you've come surpassed me, come onto this scene, or just like, and now you're not even asking me to do it with
Yeah.
you, or you're just like this whole other person,
Yeah.
and it makes you feel really weird of how the fuck did they just come out of nowhere. And I feel that a lot in Tahoe to people that I don't really know. I wouldn't say they're my friend, but I know that, in the last couple of years a lot of people have moved here. This is a place where fucking a lot of people, I'm a transplant, many people
Yeah.
come here and from different places, but a lot of us a long time ago, or even, less than a few years ago, came here because we did all these things. So this was the place that we felt like, yes, this is where all the shit I do, it's here. It's
Yeah.
easy, it's easily accessible, all this. So this is where I'm moving. Whereas there's this like huge wave, and it's always happened, but it feels like in the last few years that it's been a huge wave of people who have just discovered that the outdoors exist, and they've
Yeah.
moved here, and now this is their life, and they're barely working, and they're out doing this every day, exploring this, that, and you're like, hold the fucking phone. I work 3 jobs to try and get, 2 bike rides in a week or
Yeah.
something. And yet you suddenly feel like left behind in life. Like, what did I should I have sacrificed something else earlier in my life? Should I have
Mm-hmm.
done that career so that I could, at 30 years old, move to Lake Tahoe and buy a house and become an expert at, this sport? And for how long? Then all of a sudden you see in a couple years, or if that, like they're just done with the sport. And it's like, wait,
Yeah.
what? But I'm still over here loving it and enjoying
Yeah.
it and like living, some true values to all this. And it's hard to see people come and go out of those things when you feel like this is my fucking life.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but again, they're like their choices. And what the
Totally.
fuck ever.
And
Why does it
I,
affect me?
yeah. Girl, I don't even know. I don't even know, but I feel you. One of
Yeah.
the people on social media who I don't even know, but I like have a hard time following this person is Chris Burkhardt, that like adventure photographer guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he shares a lot of his like mishaps and struggles and like issues with like transportation and all this stuff. But I'm like, how is that guy constantly fucking doing rad shit? Who keeps on inviting this guy? Like, is it his ideas?
Keeps
That I'm just like,
inviting me.
how is
Yeah.
this your life? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what? But also, like, it's just not. I mean, like, he's got 2 kids and his wife stays at home with him. And I'm just also like, but what about your kids? And like, what about like all these fucking questions? And I'm sure it's chaos and I'm sure it's hard, but like, that's not being shared. It's
Yeah.
surfing in Iceland
Mm-hmm.
that's being
Mm-hmm.
shared, or
Mm-hmm.
like crazy epic bike adventures. And yes, it's partially like who he is as a person for sure, but I'm sure a lot of it is also like the privilege of like what his name has gotten him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And privilege rightfully earned,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully. I mean, I don't fucking know the guy, but everybody knows who he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why?
I mean, again, it's like keeping in mind our consumption of, okay, seems like they're doing all that, and maybe they are. And that's what I was saying too recently to somebody, is that there are fucking people out there that are just lucky and,
Yeah.
live a hashtag blessed life. They've had no fucking adversities, or very little. They're married to their fucking soulmate, love of their life, never questioned anything in life.
Yeah.
And whatever you believe, that's bullshit, and they have blinders on actually in life, and are not truly looking inward and seeing problems, or choosing to ignore things. Or if you believe that's what you want out of life, and you're just on this epic search for that one person, and the one thing that where everything's finally going to be just easy as pie,
Yeah.
like I said, I think there's just some people that that's what life is for them.
Yeah.
and it's a very small percentage. And I think for the rest of us, like, just drop the fantasy. Like, it's hard. Life is
Yes.
peaks and valleys, and I know it's very, very, very hard to be in the valley, and sometimes they're deeper than others, but
Yes.
the only way to get through it is to keep looking up towards the
Yep.
peak and one step at a time, and know that, yeah, shit is hard right now, and it's really, really, really hard when you feel like you're doing it alone, and especially if
Yes.
you're far away from friends or family, or um like, I've been here for 10 years,
That's a trip.
almost 9 years. Nine
What
years,
year?
yeah, because 2014 in the
Okay.
summer is when I came. So coming up on 9 years this summer. And I just always thought and hoped, I'd have like build that group of friends that I
Yeah.
had back home, but here. And like, no, that's not what happened, because people move from here. People
Yeah.
move from everywhere, but it's much different when I came from a place where everyone lived there, grew up there, their families there, um, to a place where people just kind of maybe
Seasonal.
pass through. They maybe stay here for 10 years or 15 years,
Yeah.
but they still then might eventually leave once life starts to just change. So I never found that group of people. Heck, I don't even have I mean, okay, yes, I have people, but like, I'm still so afraid that they're gonna leave. Like, the people who are my best
Yeah.
friends here, I am just so worried that they're gonna fucking leave any day. Any
Yeah.
day, get pulled away because
Just be
life
like,
changes, and they're,
bye.
yep, and they're gonna go. Like I said, it's like having trust issues in a relationship, like a romantic relationship or something,
Yeah.
that someone's gonna cheat on you. It's like, my friend's gonna leave.
Or that like anxiously waiting for something to always go wrong.
Hmm.
And I feel like if you have those feelings and if you have those thoughts, that they will come to fruition. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
your thoughts are energy, your words are vibrations. And if you think and feel that, then I feel like it's likely going to happen because we're stardust and we are magical people and we
Yeah,
can make things happen.
I've had to work really hard lately on my mental state in believing and thinking in that positive way, because I am
Yes.
always one waiting for like the other shoe to drop when something good happens. I'm like, okay, but can I trust it? Like, is that gonna work?
Yeah.
If I were to get a new bike, I'd be like, awesome, but I'm probably gonna get in it, like, crash it tomorrow or something, and it's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
ruined. And it's so, so hard for me to not to have this pessimistic view that something terrible is gonna happen when something good happens.
Yes.
Um, and cannot just enjoy the good
Yeah.
of, like, yeah,
What
just
it
go with
is
the
in that
flow.
moment.
Yep. And I'm really trying to work on that. And especially as I've been saying, like, the last couple of years have been a bit of a struggle, and last summer was, and it really did feel like suddenly this winter, I'd say, is where I could kind of narrow it down more to that, like, something did click and change. And I mean, there's many conversations had about things, but I really felt all at once that a weight was lifted and things fell into place. And I was like, again, like, okay, well, how long is this gonna last before
Yeah.
it doesn't? And I'm like, no, fuck that. Like, just enjoy the fucking ride while you're on
Mm-hmm.
it. And when or if things change, deal with it then instead of worrying about it.
Yeah.
Um, and it's kind of the same as dwelling on waiting for good to happen, right? Like, you want to have
Yes.
positive thoughts, you want to know that good is coming, but there's a difference between knowing you'll get out of that valley, like, knowing it's going to come, than to just sitting around all day, like, why can't, my life just change like tomorrow or
Yeah.
something. Like, it's the power of mindset is a real thing, and I have a
It's
very hard
giant.
time, keeping it in a good place in many different aspects, but
It is hard.
you just have to. And
You
like I said,
have
with
to.
friends, it's like my core group of friends is still in Washington, and it sucks not having them here all the time, but I've also, I don't know, I've learned a lot of how to be with myself better.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely times, yeah, you need a friend, like, but
Mm-hmm.
like, I can call a friend. I like,
Yeah.
life is just different where I'm not just going to drive over to your house, or, we're not at just like the Pussy Palace and the girls can just surround you or something in a
Yeah.
bad day. It's just like, yeah, I have to call someone. And as much as I wish I'd want a hug from these people who are so far away, if I can at least call them and talk to them, then that is something, and I will take that. And I've also, again, changed my mind a little bit about adventuring by myself. Sure,
Yeah.
often want someone else because it's going to be what gets me out and maybe what
Mm-hmm.
pushes me a little bit harder, because I'm tentative in action sports when I do it alone, that I'm going to get
Yeah.
hurt. So that's why I prefer other people to go out there with on those parts. But also I'm like, you know what? If I have to kick myself in the butt and do it by myself if the
Yes.
other option is not doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Again, which is why I want a fucking
Just
gravel
do it.
bike. So at least I'll get on my bike, because I'll just be
Yeah.
gravel biking and not downhilling. And even though I really want to downhill, it comes to a point that I just have to like fucking do what is a better option for me at times.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, when you think about it and the options are do nothing at all or just go take yourself for a fucking hike, then
Yep.
maybe it's go take yourself for a hike.
Yeah.
Um, and
But
instead of
also,
thinking about like, oh, I'm so lonely and I wish I had someone here
yes.
to do that with, because yes, we do. But you know what? Sometimes we just can't let those thoughts consume us.
Yes, try your hardest not to. It's so hard. It's
So
so
hard.
hard.
It's so hard. And it's also like getting out and meeting new people is hard. Like I always want to go on these
Yes, it
group rides
is.
and stuff like that just to meet people or whatever. But then I'm like, I'm the person too who's like, oh, well, I'm so busy. I can't do it this time, can't do it that time. So kind of like I don't want to give my number out when I go to them, because I'm like, yeah, don't call me because it's
Yeah,
likely I'm not gonna say yes.
I'm
But
booked. I can already tell you now, I'm booked.
yeah, but I really want to be able to say yes. But yeah, it's just so many weird thoughts. But again,
Yeah.
many of us have gone through being left out or feeling left behind at some point in our life. Maybe we were young kids and dealt with this in school or in a sports team or in our family.
Mm-hmm.
um Maybe it was just
That's a big
wherever
one.
we go we feel that because we're not finding like our people.
Mm-hmm.
But I have found my people. It's kind of like how I feel about soulmates or your life partners. Like they're not going to be perfect in everything, so I have
No.
my people that I know are there for me, like here in Tahoe,
Mm-hmm.
and that I can call when I need them. And there's certain things I can do with them: go on a
Yeah.
hike, probably trying like go paddleboard or something. But they're not going to be the ones that I call to mountain bike, because they just don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have to check every box.
Yeah.
It is just, I believe it's going to be like, you have your people for that, you have your people for that, you have your people
Yep.
for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it could be one or two from like each little category. And then what does
Mm-hmm.
that make up? A whole group of people.
Yes. Yes.
But
And I feel like with the pandemic, it's totally thrown a wrench in a lot of people's social lives and how
mhm.
we interact. Like, I still am like, man, I'm breathing all these people's airspace. Like, I never, ever thought of that before, really. And now I'm like, ugh. It's just, yeah, human interactions and being a person is really hard. But essentially, what you need to do is get out and do the things, get out of your head, quit making excuses. And again, easier said than done. But,
100%.
and
It always
being,
is. Everything in life pretty much is easier said than done, but you just, I don't know, find the method that works for you. Like I said, when you're
yes,
feeling down in the dumps, is that writing? Is that calling someone who is, not near you? Because maybe if you live far away from your people or something, like what are the things that can get you out of your funk?
yeah,
Um, so that they
and the
can start
negative
being almost like
headspace.
muscle memory. Like, you're going down into that hole,
Yep.
and it will get to the point that you can maybe like pull yourself out of it before you're too far in it. But that does take like sitting in that hole and be like, what would
Mm-hmm.
take me out of this right now? Man, it's a
Yep.
lot of work to figure that out and to be preventative, to catch it before it's gone too far.
Spirally.
And
Mm-hmm.
also like you always say too, like we're human. Like, we're
Mhm.
complicated.
Mhm.
Especially women and fucking hormones. It's a real thing. Our
Every month.
thought process, our emotions, our physical being is gonna operate differently
Mhm.
during different times of your fucking cycle. And
Yeah.
so that's something that also I find it helpful to look at my calendar literally and be like, what the fuck? Why do I feel like I'm losing my shit and I'm
Mhm.
super tired and I can't do anything? Butterfingers over here just spilling
Yeah.
everything. What's going on? And sometimes it's just is what it is. It's that day, but more often when I can correlate like where I might be in my cycles, like,
Yeah.
oh, and that takes a
Yes.
lot of pressure off. And you're like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Let me spill the coffee all over myself. Let me trip over this and let me just lay in bed all day and like say poor me and fucking eat the
Yeah.
pint of ice cream because guess what? It doesn't mean tomorrow's ruined for me.
Yeah.
Um, so I really believe that it can help very much in tracking your cycle as a female and keying into that in some moments because sometimes you realize that yeah, no, it's everything should be fine and it's just a day, the fucking
Yeah.
moon, the whatever energy is off and that's fine, but there are real things out there that affect this that can at least make you stop questioning why you are so fucked up. You're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm not. It's not me. It's
Nope.
like it is you, but it's not.
Yeah.
But
Man, being a person.
yeah, I hope that again, if anyone is feeling left out, left behind, that we've all gone through it. People are going through it. You may not think they are. You may think that they have this great support system, people around all the time, and never have any problems like being invited somewhere, hanging out with people. But again, we don't know what actually happens behind closed doors. And it takes time to find your people. It fucking
Yeah.
does. And it sucks because it can feel like you're dating. You're like dating for a friend. And like,
Shit.
all right, I already have to try to date to find a partner. I don't want to have to like speed date to find a goddamn friend. Like it should be
Yeah.
easy to have friends. But again, if,
Mhm.
if at this point in life, meeting people, how the fuck do you meet people if you're over the stage of going to the bar?
Or if you
Like,
work from home, or
yep.
if you're not very social,
And what if
or
it's all of these factors? That makes it
yeah,
very hard.
so
So,
hard.
like, you do have to go the route of finding some social groups and getting out there in that way.
Mhm. And changing your mindset and
Yeah.
getting uncomfortable. That's where
Hmm.
a lot of shit happens, is when you are your most
And
comfortable.
and I would say too, if you're having problems with friends that are, you feel like they're never saying yes to anything and they're making you feel a certain way, like maybe just take a little break, stop reaching out to them.
Yes. Because
Because
they could be going through their own shit
yep,
too.
they could be going through their own shit. And again, it might not be you as to why they're not like inviting you or doing this or that. And it's
But it
hard to have
also
those
might be.
conversations. Yeah, right. Yeah, they could be like, well, I feel like I want to ride this or do that, and you don't want to, or whatever. And so again, having that conversation can be very hard because that could be hard to hear too, and have like confront someone like that. So
Hmm.
I'd say at first, like take a
It's
little
so
break,
hard.
because above all, you shouldn't be like, you don't want to make yourself feel bad. And if something is making you feel bad, then quit doing it. Again, it's
Shit.
like the lactose intolerant people chugging a gallon of milk. Andrew, like
Yeah.
doing the thing that's going to make them feel like shit. But then again, there's me eating a whole giant piece of cake in one sitting. Like, I'm going to have a
Yeah.
tummy ache. We do these things that we know are going to cause us pain all the time. But just reevaluate again. It's just taking a step back. It's just not
Yeah.
reaching out to them. It's not like, oh, cut them out from your life, and if they reach out to you, say no. How the fuck does that feel when I say no to you, bitch?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
bitch.
no, it doesn't mean that at all. It just means like take a pause and quit putting yourself
Re
out there to that person who's
Yes.
not reciprocating what you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah, and reevaluate and figure out where both of you guys are at this time in your lives, because
Yeah.
we are on some fucking trips, man.
And it's like maybe you try something new with that friend too. If you're always asking them to do like one thing, and he's like, well, how about we go grab a cup of coffee or something,
Yeah.
or go for, switch it up and see what that returns. And if it's still kind of like nothing, then it's like, yeah, maybe I just need to take a break, because like you said, you don't know what that friend's going through. Maybe they're
Yeah.
just going through something that they can only hang out with a certain person, or they're not doing much. Because I know when I have high anxiety, there are very, very few people I feel like I can be around to bring me out of it. And like I'd be scrolling through my phone like in high school, like, oh my God, just I have to do something. I have this high anxiety. And there would be like two people I could call, and one would be my best friend. And then like and then I'm like, okay, well that's it. Like I don't want to, trying to go hang out with this person is not gonna, it's gonna make me more anxious.
Yeah.
So um so yeah, again, it's like they may be in a stage of their life that they're not open for everybody to be around, but
Yeah.
it's all just fucking life and weird. And really just keep doing the thing, do what makes
Yeah.
you happy. And I do believe that the energy you're putting out, like I said in last time with that like affirmation last week, the energy you put out, energy you will receive back. And
Yes.
it's not instant, right? It's not going to be an
No.
instantaneous thing. It's going to take
Never
work,
is.
but your energy, you're like, it will radiate to the people who feel it and need it and want to be around it.
Yeah.
Your people will come.
Yeah. Because we communicate with our central nervous systems, even though we don't communicate. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
like how, like, caveman times communication. Frequencies, vibes, man.
Yeah. That's why animals, they say can sense fear and things like
Yeah.
that. You can sense when something's off. Like,
Yeah.
um, so you may not think you're putting a certain thing out to the world, but other people can probably feel it.
Hmm.
But like I said, that's when you're just in the thick of the shit, it's certainly hard not to just like be able to try and change your energy. Like we're
Yeah.
some fucking, I don't know, hippies, but
Change
but
your
it
vibe,
that
man.
just means like you do have to do some more work inside and figure it out and what you want and what you need. But man, none of it's fucking easy. That's all
No.
I know. And really, the message here is just keep fucking going. Just keep chugging along. It's hard. It sucks. But there's really just no other way than up,
Yeah.
especially if you feel you're at the bottom, right? There's literally no
Hmm.
other way than up.
Yep.
So do the things, do what makes you happy. Your people will come. You'll find your people. And the people that you do have, like I said, even if they're far away, just, keep them close, keep reaching
Yeah.
out to them.
I
Don't
feel like,
isolate yourself because you're far
yes,
away.
that's hard to, that's, oops, I'm guilty of that. But I feel
Same.
like a great thing for our relationship has totally been the consistency of this podcast and getting
Mm-hmm.
to talk and see each other. Like, I feel like I'm closer with you than a lot of my friends that are here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's solely based on these awesome conversations that we're having
Yeah.
and holding each other, being like, okay, when are we, like, just keeping it consistent and being
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, this time here, this time there. And luckily our schedules have worked out really well together, but and that's not always the case, but
Mm-hmm.
having something consistent with your people is so important. And I feel like you'll live a happier, longer life if you put energy into all of your important relationships and hold on to the
Absolutely.
ones that matter.
Yep. 100%. And it's hard, I feel like, with the pandemic. This started like Zoom, right? People would do Zooms because even if you live next door, down the street, whatever, you weren't supposed to see each other in person. So
Yep.
everyone got on this virtual thing, these happy hours, these meetups to get to talk to one another because we were all so isolated. But as soon as it started, like we were able to see people in person, that dropped off, and people don't want to do it anymore. And people have had enough Zoom. But like I said, in the last year and a half that we've been doing this podcast, our relationship has, in compared to the last 9 years, been so much like closer.
Yeah.
Because before this, in those years that I've been in Tahoe, we see each other when I'm at home and we'll
Mm-hmm.
text each other, randomly. But it's like, wow, what a difference it makes being able to talk to each other
And
so
see.
often. And yeah, and we're still seeing each other, but it's like, holy
Mhm.
crap, that has nurtured the shit out of a relationship where at one
Yeah.
point we lived together, we could do all these things together, where it feels like, I mean, we've always had an easy relationship where when I come home, it feels like nothing's changed.
Yeah.
But I've gone through a lot in
Mhm.
the years since I really left Washington, which was in when I was like 23. And there was times that we didn't talk very much, and you were gone and then I was gone, and we weren't
Mhm.
seeing each other like once a year.
Yeah.
um so yeah, try to make a habit of those people who are far away of getting on, and it's not easy, and it could be once a month even, because
Yeah.
that's still probably more often than you're seeing that person if they
Mhm.
do live hundreds or thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
um
We
because
have all the technology now, just
yep.
like, and it's such a bummer that a lot of the times with social media and all these other technologies that we have, that they make people feel more lonely and
Hmm.
isolated and left out. But try to just use it to the good, for the
Hmm.
good, for the better
Well,
of the advantage.
and I honestly, you saying that about social media, I feel that maybe sometimes it makes it feel like you don't have to reach out to people because you're seeing their life
Yes.
every day. I know what's
Yes.
going on in so and so's life because I see them
Yeah.
post every day.
Totally.
So that's an interesting, thing that we're in and way of life, but
Yeah.
also it's not directed to you. So it's so much different to be able to have that conversation who just got engaged or had a baby or whatever, and you being able to talk to them about it instead of get the message from that everyone else in the world
Hmm.
gets.
Yeah.
But I think that does stop us sometimes from reaching out to said person because we're like, oh, we know what's going on. Like I
Yeah.
don't need to call them.
Or if someone's like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited. I did this thing." And someone's like, "Yeah, I know. I saw it on your social
Yeah.
media." And it's just like, "Okay, cool."
Totally. It's weird. Well, so speaking of that kind of, I saw this off of social media, I got a message, a personal message, but it is on social media now. Um, I have a new nephew. The third guy was
Here, I
born
was
today.
wondering about that. Oh, that's
Yes.
exciting.
He arrived today, May
Awesome.
30th around 1 o'clock. So, so
Congrats, Jen
happy
and TK
yeah, so
and
happy to
Delia
report that they
and Colin.
everything is fine, and we got a healthy third nephew, um
Awesome.
that I can start FaceTiming. So
Yay! Oh,
but
that's
yeah, I
so
mean, even that's
exciting.
helped with I think that FaceTime is a huge proponent of me having such a good relationship with my niece,
Yeah.
because if I was only to see her 2 times a year, she wouldn't, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe kids, she has a great memory, but it's like it is so amazing and helpful to be able to hop on the phone and see their faces and put that
Totally.
in. And
Especially since they grow so fucking
yeah,
much in those first few years, like first 5 years, like just,
yeah,
oh my God, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming how much little ones change.
totally. So nothing replaces, being in person, but again, it's like, do what's better, this
Yeah.
virtual
Or
or
no.
nothing? Just like we said, is
Yeah.
it better to go out on a hike or a walk or a bike by yourself or do nothing? There's going to
Or
be times that
continue
it's
that
nothing, but
that
yeah,
negative narrative in your head.
yep. Do the thing that
Yeah.
is just, you got to weigh it out sometime. The lesser of the two evils, it may seem, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. But anyway, I think that kind of wraps it up for me before I start repeating 500 times of what we've already said. Uh, Being left out,
We all have it.
Yep,
Next
I'll
time
go
you feel
through it.
left out, call Taryn and I, and we'll hopefully make you not feel left out.
Yeah,
Or,
totally.
just reach out, reach out, reach out,
Yep.
reach out, reach out, reach out.
Especially if it's, you're in a spot of like a very dark place in it. That's
Yes.
when you really have to reach out to somebody. Um,
And when it's the hardest too.
yep. And then that's also, of course, like for real professional, therapy in that. Like when you got to talk to someone, you got to get some shit out. Like sometimes that's the best bet. And
Yeah.
it will help you feel better too to get that out because it's not always easy to talk to friends or people about things. But man, when you have an unbiased person that you can get stuff off your chest, I'm sure that can really help relieve some feelings of tension and insecurity and whatnot. But podcast will never replace, professional help when you need it.
Yeah,
no. We hope to be there for people who are just needing a little pick-me-up in their day. And hopefully, again, reminding them that we're all going through the shit that we don't share on social media per se, but we feel it exists, and we feel you. Not in a creepy sexual way, but
under pressure.
All right, well, we'll be back hopefully next week with something else. I don't know what. We'll see. The world is our oyster. We'll most likely decide right when we get on if we even have anything. But until then, world, we will talk to you later.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and would do us a huge favor, since we don't have any sponsors or anything like that, and would rate and review us on whatever platform it is you use, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, whatever it is. And if you're listening and downloading just through the website, tearingituppodcast.com, leave comments. We'll definitely engage back with you. And on social media right now, we're just on Instagram. Tearing It Up Podcast is the handle. Like the post, share the post, comment on the post, whatever it is you got. Show us your love so we just stay relevant and show up in the rankings at all. So again, rate and review, please, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.